Jesus' teaching this evening is a difficult one for our society today. But that is the truth that we must take and struggle to live with. In the intention of God, no divorce. But when there was hardness of heart, when there were challenges, then Moses permitted it. But it was not the intention. So we must remind ourselves times and again the original intention of God. There are many things we can talk about in today's reading, but I have underlined 3 main points that I want to share with us. The first one is about creation. What is the meaning of creation? The pericope of our readings, of our first reading, talks about what scholars call second account of creation. We have the first account, which runs from Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 to chapter 2, verse 3. Then we have this second account of creation, which runs from chapter 2, verse 4 to the end. It is known as Yahwistic tradition. There are 2 things that I want us to learn about this creation story in the Bible. Generally, the creation story in the Bible were response to the challenges that the people were facing at that time. Religious response, not geographical or historical or scientific. Religious response to the inquisitiveness of man. Why are we here? Where do we come from? What is the beginning of the world? These are questions that philosophers, especially the ancient philosophers, ask themselves. And for the Greek philosophers, they itemize 4 constituents of the world: fire, water, air, and earth. So they said these were this thing. But for the hagiographers, those who have religious understanding, who were inspired, they gave their own reason. The reason for the earth is God wills it. God wills creation. If we are familiar with primitive creation folklores all over the world, we will realize the intention of these hagiographers in relating their stories. Among the primitive Mesopotamian culture, in the folklore of Enuma Elish, the protagonists, Marduk and Tiamat, they were always fighting. And so, in order to have helper who will help them to overcome each other, each created human beings. These gods were fighting, and each created human beings to help him in the fight. So when the good God wins, then there are good things. When the evil God wins, there are bad things. But God inspired the holy writers to say, no, there is only one principle of creation. He is God. And that forms the heart of Israelitic prayer and faith today. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one, and he is God. And this is the beginning of the monotheistic faith, of which Christianity also shares. The biblical account, especially in today's passage, the narrative shows that God willed to create the world. And God willed to create man and woman. They were not accidents like in the folklore. It was the intention of God to create the world. It was the intention of God to create man. It was not an accident. Man is not an accident of creation. He created them to live together and manage the earth he had created for their good and for their sustenance. This is contrary to the many primitive creation stories of the world of their time. It is novel, rational, and logical. This is known as evolutionary creation, as opposed to the accidental evolution that many scientists are propounding today in the Big Bang theory. Therefore, the creation account in the Bible, first and foremost, shows that God is the God of order, not chaos. It also shows God as creator, not a warrior. God created man and woman freely and with freedom in his own image. Male and female, he created them as complementary beings, not subservient to each other and not subservient to him, complementary to each other. He loves his creation, and he loves the human being he created with affection. He created them, and he had affection for them. He wanted them to eat and to live well and to have relationship with the creation. That's why he brought Adam to name them. And he said, care for it. If you care for it, it will take care of you. It's a sign of affection that we have for our own children. We tell our children to do something so that tomorrow they will be by themselves and they will be happy. And that was the relationship that God had with Adam, and this is the relationship that God is still having with us today. The second thing I want us to think about in today's story is also about name giving. Name giving is not just a principle of identification, as they want us to believe today. In ancient times, and still today in my country, from names, you can tell the story of any human being. So, names are ontological realities that are intrinsically connected with the bearer, that shows the origin, the destiny, the mission, the vocation, the history, and the goal of the bearer. They are not just principles of identification to be able to identify this person from this person. No. When you hear a name, it tells stories about that name. So, when you read the Bible, you will see that most of the time, when they give name, they try to give us the meaning of the name. For instance, in today's reading, which is not included in the reading, but part of it, Adam named the wife Eve, which means mother of all living. Eve, the Hebrew word Eve, is an inflection of the Hebrew word Haya. Haya is the verb to be in Hebrew. So Eve is a causative verb for living. So Eve, the wife, is life-giving. Abraham, God named him Abraham, Ab, which means father, Ra, Am, people, father of many nations. So name tells stories and help us to know a particular identity of a person, of the bearer. So name giving should not be arbitrary. It should reflect our faith. It should reflect our goal. It should reflect our vocation. I'm saying this because today we just come for baptism and somebody just give any name. Thank God, like Bishop said the other time, we have not been hearing people calling themselves terrorists. So we should be mindful of the name we call ourselves, because this thing tells stories about us. Therefore, in today's reading, God gave Adam the privilege of giving names so that he will be able to relate affectionately with the things he named. When you give name to something, you relate affectionately with that thing. And you see it when you give a name to your dog, an affectionate name to your dog, the way he reflects or he comes back to you when you call the name is different from other dogs on the street. Because the name brings relationship, knowledge, not just identity. And this is important for us as Christians. The third thing that I want us to think about in today's reading is the importance of marriage. One of the major challenges and concerns of our society today is the ecological degradation of the earth, otherwise known as climate change. Climate change is in the mouth of everybody today. Climate change is very real. It will affect us on the long run. It is true. So we should be mindful of the way we relate with the climate. If we are not mindful, we will have a repeat of this increasing global warming, incessant flooding, glacier melting, unquestionable fire that is ravaging the whole world. The Pope, in the encyclical Laudato Si, calls all of us to reflect on what we can do to stop or to lower the effect of this climate change. However, as human beings, I think it is our collective responsibility and greater concern to protect ourselves from whatever that will be harmful to our nation. Today, more than ever before, the institution of marriage is in danger. If we protect the earth from destruction and there is no human being to inherit it, we have labored in vain. Marriage is an institution that has a divine origin, but far more than divine origin or the religious sentiment that we try to attach to it is nature. It is natural for us to regenerate and preserve ourselves. In fact, it is said that the first instinct in man is instinct of self-preservation. This is why we take precautions. This is why we take medications. This is why we protect ourselves from diseases as we are doing right now. In fact, this is why we eat, to preserve ourselves. But one of the natural ways of preserving ourselves is to regenerate ourselves. And the means by which nature has given us this power of regeneration is through marriage. Today, we know that this institution is facing challenges. If we destroy marriage, we'll be destroying ourselves and we'll be destroying climate far faster than just burning of bush. Destroying marriage is far means of destroying climate. What can we do? Expanding on the passage of today, the church defines marriage as a covenant by which a man and a woman establish between themselves a partnership of a whole life, and by its nature ordered towards the good of the spouses for procreation and education of the offspring. The two things that I want us to take home in this definition is a partnership of a whole life long. This is why in today's reading, Gospel, Jesus reminds us that there is no room for divorce. We know that marriages are having challenges. Also, even in a family, even with yourself, sometimes you are annoyed with yourself. Sometimes you are annoyed with some part of your body. But you don't, because of that, sever yourselves or kill yourself. You see what you can do to see if it will get better tomorrow. This is the same way we should make effort to preserve marriage. I know that marriage, two people living together is very difficult. Even two brothers living together is very difficult. But they need to endure themselves. Brothers need to endure themselves. No parent will be so happy that his two children cannot stay together and nobody is talking to each other. The same way that God is not always happy when there is divorce. And that's why I said at the beginning, the original intention of God is that marriage should be a lifelong relationship. What we can do if we are having challenges is to examine what is the cause of our challenge, of the crisis. Can we help ourselves to remove it? Can we remove the challenge we are having? It is not to remove ourselves. Let us see what we can do today to help marriages. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize once again that God created the world and placed human beings in it to protect, to guide, and to save it. It is our duty then not to destroy it or to bring chaos into it in any form. Let us know that God has given us a responsibility. Let us work to keep our own side of the covenant that God has made with us. Secondly, let us know that names are not just means of identity, but that they are intrinsically related to those who bear them. Let us be mindful of the name we call ourselves. The saints, their names help us to seek their intercession and to walk in the model of life they had followed. Let us protect the name of Christ we bear as Christians. Let us be mindful of that name as Christians that we bear. In anywhere we find ourselves, either in politics or in science or in the church or on the street, let us be mindful of the name of Christ we bear. And lastly, let us defend and protect the institution of marriage from going into extinction. It will have their consequences for us and for the continued existence of the world. Part of protecting the earth for the next generation is to multiply and fill it, to regenerate. Let us support the marriages that are having difficulties, if need be, even materially. Let us stay close to couples, especially young couples that are having challenges. Let us remember to pray for couples, older couples that are passing through a phase of their marriage. We should not be afraid to bring up the discussion about marriage at home, in our family, or among our friends. We should not be afraid to bring up the topic of marriage at home and among our friends. Let it be part of our discussion. Marriage should be part of our day-to-day discussion. May God bless His words in our hearts.